Have you ever just geeked out about something? It's like you tried something and it's like, ah, it worked. I'm experimenting with different surfaces to paint gouache on. I'm going to go to Italy in September, and I pulled out a surface I hadn't painted on in a while. I had tried it with watercolor, and um, it worked, but it was kind of different. And I thought, oh, it's not even going to, gouache isn't even going to stick. Wrong. Gouache sticks. It's forgiving. Archival, I'm not sure, but for what I do, it's going to be fine. But I'm going to play with it again. Guess what the surface is? You'll never guess. Photo paper. Photo paper for inkjet. When I bought a printer, I got this free batch of photo paper. I don't even know the brand. I don't even think there's any. Let's see. Yeah, Canon. I see it on the back. Anyway, I'm going to test it again. I'm going to film it this time, and you watch and see. I am putting a timer of 20 minutes, and I'm going to see what I can do of this in 20 minutes. I'm going to start with that underlying bright yellow. I'll start with just pure yellow. I'm painting on photo paper. Okay, see how dull that ended up. I'm going to spread it out. Add more yellow. Add water. Lift some of that up. I want it brighter. Put a little pink in there. It's not exactly, ooh, that's kind of thick, heavy. All right, maybe I can make it thick and heavy. And I'm trying to paint this kind of like oil paint. Now that color is not reflecting on the ground. I mean on the water. I want a lot of blue. Added some orange to the blue to dull it. I don't normally start with the clouds. I usually have the underside done first. Okay, I think I've got too much water in my brush. Let's make this a little thicker. To make it globbier, thicker, more oil painterly like. But when there's a little pull to it, but it's not totally, it's not running. Okay, there's a little bit of light sky down here. I'm going to add a little bit of that too. Try to lay that in above the water. See what happens. It's very light around there, so I want to protect that. My brush is pretty thick with paint, but it's kind of dry. I have very little water on it. You can see some of the photo paper shining through where I don't have any paint on it right now. Okay, this is dry, so now I can layer it with just a little bit of paint. The water out here is reflecting more of the darkness of the sky above. Okay, I'm going to start with black. Want a little blue in that black. Want a little lighter. Okay, my paint feels sticky right now. Let's add a little bit of this neutral tone, because back in the distance, kind of just dragging my brush. Okay, I need a tiny bit of water. I'm barely touching the water. Ooh, got more water than I wanted. Soaking it up in my brush. That's pretty dark in the background. That's all right. But I do want my horizon line to be fairly straight because I'm dealing with marshes. Ooh, I'm loving the, let me drag the brush. Okay, I'm gonna rinse my brush off and fill in with the water first. Ooh, need a lot more light. Kind of a gray tone. I want a little more green in this area. Didn't want it quite as blue. Big chunk of paint there. All right. It's not moving. It's a tiny bit of water. Laying in the light reflection. There's kind of a lemon yellow. Now, I don't see it much in this sky. I'll have to add to it in a minute. That might be what I add last. Okay, do you see that? See that line right there that I don't like? Okay, get it wet. Lift it off. Now I've got orange in my brush, so when I touch the blue, it does kind of lift off or mute it a bit. This is way too orange for my photo reference, so now I'm going to get white. I'm going to tint it with yellow, because even though that's very, very white, I don't want it straight out of the tube right now. I want a tiny tint, tiny tint of yellow. It's kind of dragging. Tiny bit of moisture. A little bit more. Because I want it to kind of melt into what's there. Bouncing around just a little bit. I tilt my head to see that I'm covering the paper, but what's kind of funny about it, you think you cover it, and the paint's, when it's wet, it's shiny. So you've got to come back and look at it after it dries and make sure that it's not the paper showing through, if you don't want the paper showing through. Okay, that's getting a little light over here. I'll smear that out just a little bit and let that dry. Okay, got a little bright down here. I want more yellow in this mixture, but I just, before painting this, I went through, reactivated my paint. See, it's kind of sticky. And add some more white to that, because I want more of a yellow through here rather than that orange that I did. When it's thicker, it'll drag. If it drags too much, you can put a little more pressure on your brush, or you can barely touch your brush in the water, come back and soften that. Yeah, that's better, much better. And I'm barely touching the paper. When I barely touch the paper, I can lay on top of what's there without lifting. Gotta move my water bottle, or my water container. I was about to knock it over, and don't want to do that. There's a little bit of yellow in the water, especially up front here, and a little bit peeking through back in here. going to bring some more lavender tones on top of that. Yellow and purple kind of neutralize each other. But okay, now I've got more water in my brush. But I want to put soften some of that I laid in. So it's more watery. So it's going to kind of seep in what's there. That's too green. Add more blue to it. That's too dark. So I can flip my brush to the other side and lift it up a little bit. Okay, I've lost some of the dark over here. So I'm going to pick some of that up again, add a little yellow to this. Yellow and blue I know make green, but this is leaning toward the violet side, so yellow and violet neutralize each other. And I know my painting or my photo is a little brighter, more vibrant, but I think it's a little exaggerated in the printing. So I'm barely touching. Let's just go, okay, forget it. I want to capture this. I'm going to start with black and green. I feel like are my colors up front. And a little yellow ochre. Oh, that's really sticky. Okay, I'm going to pull it out. See how ooey? Yeah, I need to work on that some more. Just pull it out, grab a little bit. You can actually paint with a palette knife if you want. Let's just do that. A little more black. Okay, drag it in. I'm laying part of my palette knife down pretty flat and then dragging it toward the shore. Still not quite dark enough. Add a little blue in there. That wasn't much. Ooh. Well, let's just put a chunk over here. I want to kind of obliterate the corner here. I want that pretty solid. All right, if it's not moving enough, you can, whoop, dadgummit, almost put my brush in my coffee. Whew, that could have not been a good thing. All right, there's a little bitty, I really like the organic look of my palette knife better than my brush and the texture that I'm getting on the ground. Doing more of the blue and the yellow ochre. When I put the green in, it was just too green. Dip my palette knife in some water. Now that'll change quite a bit. When your palette knife is wet, that'll smooth out some things. You don't want it drippy. All right, now I want the sky over here darker. I want to do that with a palette knife. I think I kind of want to try because I like the texture I'm getting here. So let's get some blue. I have it lean more toward the blue, neutralize blue with a tad bit of orange. That made it too green. Opposite of green is red. So you get a tiny bit of red. Might end up with, no, still want more blue, a little more blue. And let's go with a little lighter blue because it is in the water and not the ground. All right. Squinting, that's way too dark. That should be like the land in the distance. Land in the distance is darker. Pick a brush up that's damp. Just dragging it in. Kind of liking this. And I can drag some of it out if I have too much. All right, now what I want to do is I'm going to get a smaller brush. This is a really little one. And I'm going to mix some of this white. Try to make it thick enough on my brush that I can lay in some of the yellow reflecting in the water. It's too dark in through here in the water. Okay, now I'm wondering if oh, look at this. Damp. Lifting it off. Lifted too much, so I can transfer a little. Be careful not to drag too much. All right, maybe my timer didn't start. I have 35 seconds. Is that right? Where's my timer? 22 seconds. Okay, what do I want to do in 22 seconds? Do I want to lighten some of the clouds over here so they're not quite as heavy and thick? Let some of that light shine through. Huh. All right. 20 minutes. Painting in 20 minutes. I'm kind of liking this. Okay, let's see. All right, when I look at this, I don't like the thick. I don't like that piece of paint. I don't want the actual thick. Shouldn't matter. Okay, when I hold it up, I'm seeing some bits that I don't like. And my horizon's not straight. Gotta let it dry first. I'm gonna hit it real quick with a hairdryer. Okay, can you see that there's some slight bits of light shine coming through? I don't think I mind that. Might even want to expand on that again. Okay, now I'm looking at this. Well, the picture doesn't, because that's land back there and that's marshes coming in, it's not exactly flat. Now this over here, there needs to be something back there that's exactly flat. So I'm gonna line my ruler up to where it's perpendicular. This line is right in line with the edge of the paper. And I'm going to get a damp brush. I'm going to put it in the water, dry it off, and I'm going to make a section back here that's very flat. Wipe my brush off, come back, pick it up. Okay, I liked how it was a blurred edge back there. So I'm gonna lift some of that up, or soften that edge just a little bit. So that's foliage back there. This is other landforms. See how dark that, lifted that off a little bit. I think I'm going to raise that up just a tad, so we know it's land and doesn't have to read flat. I'm okay with that. Now I'm gonna pull out a mat. You can I don't even know where I went online years ago. I did this when I thought I was going to be mass producing a bunch of small paintings. Doesn't that look nice? Yeah, it's a 4x6 piece of photo paper. All right, let me know what you think. Tell me if you're going to go get some photo paper. If you have some in your drawer that you haven't used because your printer died and you never did get rid of the paper. Oh, I'm so glad I didn't. While I'm experimenting, I really like the result of the photo paper. This is Canon photo paper. And now I'm going to spray it with my clear acrylic spray that seals oil, acrylic, watercolor, and let's see what happens here. I'm curious if it beads up where the photo paper isn't totally covered. We shall find out. I just took it out and sprayed it with Krylon Kmart varnish, non-yellowing protectant for oil, acrylic, watercolor. It's kind of a strong smell, so normally I would leave it outside. I think that did all right. Sure shined up my board here. This is a gator board that I have cut for a surface to paint on. And I'm kind of liking that. Let it dry thoroughly and we'll give it another look. Where's my mat? Here's my mat. Shouldn't leave it out like that. It's gonna end up getting messed up. I want as much of my water down here to show. Okay, I'll let y'all go. Let me know what you think. I am really loving this new surface. Get some photo paper and give it a try. See you soon.